Divorces are nasty. We all know that. Most people want to get through with as little damage as possible. Hope that, the truth comes out and that prevails and their truth is the right truth. And the problem is sometimes the truth doesn't really set you free when the truth isn't understood and words get twisted and the judge doesn't understand and nothing gets clarified and everything gets confusing and it gets to be fun. But not fun. Fun in a bad way. Yeah. This one's a roller coaster, a couple different parts. Here's part one.
Try and recite it, and then each of them can acknowledge it. There are several matters pending before the court, both filed by both parties in this case, and this agreement would resolve all pending matters that are presently set for hearing before the court today. And I will try and recite that, and if I miss something, your counsel can correct me or fill it in. Visitation first. Mom will be the primary residential parent. Father will be the alternative residential parent. The parties will exercise joint decision-making with respect to the minor children and major decisions, and she will make the final decision if no agreement can be made after a reasonable discussion. Father will have visitation with the minor children every other weekend from Friday at 6 until Sunday at 6, or as otherwise agreed upon by the parties. Dad shall notify the mother of his plans where he will be with the children during his residential time. Reason for that, these parties have a unique living situation. They are currently residing on the same piece of real property where husband's business is also located. My client lives in a camper on the property. His wife lives in the house that's on the property. It's anticipated that during his residential time, rather than have that in the camper, he will make plans and do things with the children, and he will notify her of those plans. Additionally, the father will have 2 dinners each evening, each week with the children, with specific date and times to be agreed upon by the parties. Parties will each have holiday time with the children, and that can be addressed by the court if they cannot come up with an agreement as to holiday time. Mr. Strickland will have a urine drug screen on or before November the 30th of this year. The results of that test can be addressed by the court upon appropriate motions filed with the court. There shall be, of course, no discussion about the case in, around, or in the present or with the minor children. All communications between the parties themselves will be reasonable and civil and should be directly related to their financial affairs or their children, those things that are important. Mr. Strickland will continue to pay the indebtedness associated with the parties' marital residence. Ms. Strickland has recently obtained employment, but it's a rather insignificant amount of income that she's earning. So for the time being, Mr. Strickland is going to continue to pay those obligations that he has been paying. And additionally, Mr. Strickland will pay support to Ms. Strickland the amount of $400 per month. Per week. There's a pending motion for contempt filed by Ms. Strickland. I think they've elected to not go forward on that as part of this agreement. The marital residence is currently listed for sale. It will remain listed for sale. Both parties will undertake to keep it in a condition and state to be shown by their real estate agent. And the parties will give each other reasonable notice of any scheduled showings, at least with that notice being at least 24 hours in advance of the showing. Oh, anything else?
No, I have some more.
That was the end of my notes.
Okay. So, Your Honor, my client will have exclusive possession of the main house that's in the same property where the camper is located, where Mr. Strickland is staying. Mr. Strickland will have to notify my client whenever he goes in and out of the main house via text, via phone call. So he's just not allowed to go in there willy-nilly whenever he wants. David and Owen are my client's children from a different relationship past. They have bedrooms in the main house, and if Mr. Strickland were to exercise his visitation in the main house, David and Owen shall be permitted to sleep there, and my client will be out of that house if he so chooses to exercise his visitation in the main house. I will be withdrawing the motion for contempt that was already mentioned, and I'm also withdrawing the motion for a restraining order to continue to market the home. Instead, we agreed that the proceeds will be deposited with the clerk, and then as much as practicable, my client will be given 2 months' notice for the closing of the home if indeed someone buys it. And she gets $10,000 from the proceeds just to help her get an apartment.
Both parties.
Right, and then the rest will be
10,000
deposited.
each party.
10,000 to each party. She will have the authority to talk to the realtor. Did you talk to him about it? So that they can schedule themselves the showing of the house. And then the only thing, and I think you'll agree, that neither party will expose the children to any paramour or any individual being dated or seen romantically
That's
by either party.
And they're both going to undergo a psychological evaluation.
And-
Initially, my client's not going to undergo an alcohol and drug assessment.
And then as far as, I think you addressed the decision making, and my client is free to take specifically Mason to the doctor for the ADHD.
Do we have an agreement?
We're just talking about an appointment, not to put him on any medication. Now, when there's a recommendation, then she will need to talk to you about it, and then you all figure out whether it's in the best interest of the child. This is just to have the child have an appointment with the doctor because he has not been seen in a year or so after he got diagnosed with the ADHD.
But I feel like I addressed it with what language I included, which is that they would talk about it and she has the final decision in the event of no agreement.
Well, obviously, my only concern is that if you're announcing an agreement, then you're announcing an agreement. The agreement that's been announced makes her the primary residential parent and says that the parties will have meaningful discussion of any major decisions regarding the children. And at the conclusion of that, under this order that was announced, if the parties cannot agree, and only if they cannot agree, would she have the right to make the final decision. So what it seems to me that Ms. Hendrickson's concerns are addressed in that original announcement. But if you want to consult with your client to see whether that concern would blow up the entire agreement, I'll give you that opportunity.
I think he understands that if she were to insist upon some course of action inconsistent with what professionals are telling each of them should be done, that we would have an appropriate remedy to address
This is
that.
a temporary order, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
A temporary order is just that. It can be adjusted, it can be modified by application to the court, come back in front of a judge and ask the judge to make a change based on whatever you believe to be appropriate.
Yes.
All right, let's have both of them raise their right hand and place them under oath.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Ms. Baldy, Ms. Strickland, rather, you are the one who filed this. Did you understand what your lawyer and Mr. Sanders have agreed upon? And do you believe that to be a fair agreement on a temporary basis at least? Yes, sir. And you understand that's going to be a binding effective today? Mr. Strickland, do you also understand what your lawyer has agreed to, what y'all have worked out? And do you believe that is going to be in the best interest of you and your children at the present time?
At the present time.
You understand it's going to be binding effective today?
Yes.
It is a temporary order. And obviously there are some issues in y'all's case that are being addressed by your lawyers trying to get all of these things worked out. Hopefully you'll be able to continue to do that, let your lawyers give you advice, and then you'll put your best interest of your children first and go forward.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Who's drawing the order?
You want to do it, or me too?
I will.
Sanders from Dallas.
Send it to me, okay, so I can-
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, what's the next case?
I don't think so, not when I was.
You have an announcement on Fambro that you want to make, Mr. Jukar?
Yes, Your Honor, they're gonna do kind of an every other weekend schedule, and it'll be supervised at, Mr. Fambro's father's home. And, that, they've already divided up holidays, done everything
Ms.
just
Scribner
fine.
was here this morning, but she's left, I think, is that correct?
She did, I told her I would just announce it for her.
All right, we have a motion for criminal contempt, as well as a hearing on a temporary restraining order. Are there any other issues?
No, Your Honor. I would like to call for the rule, Your Honor.
Rule has been requested. If there's anyone here who's going to be a witness other than the parties, you must go outside of the courtroom and remain outside of the courtroom until you are called to testify. You're not to discuss the testimony of any other witness with anyone until after you yourself have testified. Counsel are under a continuing duty to ensure that the rule is complied with.
State your full name for the record, please.
Officer.
Lindsay Leanne Strickland.
And you are married to Mr. Strickland, correct?
Yes.
And you have 3 children, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me the names and the ages of your children? And prior to the ex parte orders being signed by the court, you contacted our office, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so what prompted you, or what has caused you to ask for the intervention of the court?
Because Mason had verbally stated some things towards me, and then he posted a picture of him holding an AR in the camper, and then his girlfriend's mom messaged me telling me that she
Objection,
was.
Your Honor. Hearsay.
There's an objection as to the statement of another witness, of another person. You cannot repeat what another person has told you in most situations, because that is hearsay. That person is not here to be cross-examined. So,
Your Honor, if I may, we're not presenting it for the truth of the matter. I was asking her what caused her to be
then
concerned
you can
and
ask her
cause the
that,
actions.
then you can rephrase your question. She can answer that she talked to someone, and after talking with that someone, did certain things without repeating what that person said. I sustain Mr. Sanders' objection. You can say, I had a conversation with a person, and as a result of that conversation, I took certain actions. That's permissible. But repeating what the person said is not.
So without repeating what was told to you, can you again tell the court what has caused you to seek intervention of the court?
Because of the stuff that my son was posting and saying.
And I'm going to,
Stuff that your son was posting and saying?
You can identify those two documents.
Yes, this is a picture of Mason holding an AR.
Okay, and where was that taken?
That was in the husband's camper,
Okay, and when was that taken?
November 22nd,
And whose AR is that?
Patrick's.
How do you know that that's his AR? Have you seen that before?
Yes, he has several of them.
And who took that picture?
Holden.
Okay. Was that after we were here in October when you all entered into an agreed order?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall what was the agreed upon provision with regards to deadly weapons?
There would be none available for them to be around.
Okay. And what have you learned soon after we got done with the that court hearing about the gun situation?
That they were still there.
Okay. Now I would like to admit that, Your Honor, as Exhibit 1. And then that second post there, and what is that?
These are some of the posts that Mason had made.
Okay, and so based on those posts, what was the effect on you on that?
I'm very concerned.
Mm-hmm.
With the way that the divorce has come along. There has been instances of threats with Patrick, and I feel that Mason is either doing it because for that reason or because he's serious, and I don't know which one.
Okay. Are the posts are they resembling the posts that you just mentioned about? Are they resembling the posts that your husband posted prior
Yes,
in other media, social media?
yeah, somewhat.
Okay. I would like to enter that as an exhibit, please. Okay. So what else concerned you to the point that you had to call me about a possible ex parte order? Okay, and tell us about that.
There was an instance where Mason came down and asked me if he smelled like.
Objection, Your Honor.
It's a question, Your Honor. The child was asking her mother if he smelled of weed. It's not a
Overruled.
Statement.
A hearsay statement is a statement that being introduced to prove the truth of the matter asserted in that statement. And I don't find that to be the case here. Overruled.
So what was Mason asking you again?
He asked me if he smelled like and pulled his shirt out, and I smelled it, and I told him yes.
Okay. Have you seen him use weed?
I have
At
not
any point in time?
seen him do it, no. He
Okay.
has told me he has.
I'm gonna go back to your testimony with regards to your husband posting content. Okay. You recognize that?
Yes.
Whose post is that?
Patrick.
In what, is it a social media or is it
Yes,
a
on
text?
Facebook.
It's his Facebook?
Mhm.
And can you read what's in that post?
If you ever get that call, just promise me you won't break, because I promise I was smiling, I wasn't in pain. Speed was my freedom, and I promised to paint you the most beautiful sunset.
And so were there any other posts like that you have seen prior?
Several.
Can you give us a time frame of how long this has been going on with your husband?
June, July,
Of what year?
June, July of this year.
Of this year, okay. And then I would like to enter that as an exhibit, please.
Maybe 3, 4.
Back in August, was there an incident with regards to this same situation with your husband?
Yes.
Okay, tell the court what happened in August.
Me and him got into an argument over a text that he had received from a woman. It escalated. He went to his vehicle, or went to his shop, and got in his vehicle and sped out
Judge,
of
I'm
the
going to
driveway.
object to the relevancy of this line of questioning. I believe that she's testified the date here would predate the last order that was entered in this case, so it would be not relevant.
Objection is to relevance because it predates the order of October the 20th, and therefore could not be relevant on the issue of contempt.
Well, if I may, Your Honor, this is not the contempt motion that we're pending, it's the ex parte. I was under the impression that we're going over my ex parte motion.
We're doing both at the same time. I'm giving you an opportunity to respond to his objection. The objection is to relevance. How is this relevant?
It supports the fact that Mr. Strickland does have, and we believe, my client believes that he does have mental health issues that need to be addressed, and it would not be in the best interest of the children that these go unaddressed through this divorce while we're trying to figure out parenting plan and things of that nature. And so there is an order, a standing order for a psych evaluation that the parties both agreed to do. My client started hers, or do you have an appointment with that?
No, mine's already
Oh,
done.
yours is already done. I haven't heard from Mr. Strickland's evaluation. And so the reason for the ex parte restricting the father's visitation is his mental instability that
All right, on the basis of this hearing being on the extension of an ex parte restraining order, I overrule the objection. You may proceed.
So tell us about what occurred that day.
So we got into the argument, and he went to his shop and then hopped in his truck and sped out of the driveway. My son messaged me and told me that I needed to go wake up Pop, which is his dad that was there, that he had asked for the gun and then drove off. His nephew called the cops and told them that he had previous incidences. He had a bullet that he had carved his name into, and the cops went to find him and couldn't, so they pinged his phone. And after several hours, the cop pulled back into the driveway and said that they had found him, and he was sitting in a graveyard, and that he had told him that he had had a gun in his mouth the night before, so he took him to the emergency room.
Okay. In which emergency room was this?
The TriStar, Dixon.
Okay. And just so we're clear, was it on, did this happen in August the 6th of this year?
Mhm.
This year, okay. And then, so how long did he stay at the Horizon Hospital?
I think for that day, they transported him that same day, maybe,
Where was he transported?
in Columbia.
Okay. Is it Pinewood Springs?
Yes.
Okay. And how long did he stay in Pinewood Spring Mental Facility?
4 or 5 days, I believe.
Okay. To your knowledge, has your husband taken any steps to address this issue?
No.
Um, Now, what other factors have caused you to ask for this ex parte?
There is no communication when it comes to our children. I asked him if he could assure me that there was no weapons or marijuana for them to get into while they're at his place, and he wouldn't give me that reassurance.
And was that part of your agreed order?
Yes, that there would be none around them.
Okay. Now, part of that agreed order was for him to have a urine drug screen November the 30th,
Yes.
correct? As to your knowledge, have we gotten any results, drug results from his lawyer?
No.
To your knowledge, is he still using marijuana to
Yeah,
this day?
he told me he would not stop. He wasn't going to stop.
Okay. Do you know if he underwent the alcohol and drug assessment that was also agreed to in that order?
Yes.
Okay. And what came out of that, do you know?
A high probability. I can't remember the word.
Well, it's an alcohol and drug abuse. So you're saying high probability of abuse?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would like to play a recording. I would like to clarify though. So we have the one ex parte for the visitation, one ex parte order for the marital home being sold, and then the contempt. Do you prefer that I go over all the proof for the 3 matters, or let
You say you
Mr.
have
Sanders?
3 matters that I show motion for criminal contempt, and then I show an ex parte restraining order, which is set for hearing. And what was the other issue?
So the first ex parte was for the visitation. Your Honor basically approved our application for the ex parte to restrain Mr. Strickland's visitation. And then you also signed the ex parte order requiring
sale of the
him.
home?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So did you want
Just,
me
I would
to?
say it makes sense to just do all of it at one time rather than bifurcate it. So.
So I would like to play a recording.
Judge, if I may, before this begins to play, I'd like to make an objection. I haven't heard any foundation for this video laid whatsoever.
I agree. You'll have to lay a foundation for what we're about to see. I don't know what it is. So.
Yes, Judge. Ms. Strickland, you can see the photo of it. What is this recording here?
This is a video that he sent the kids on their iPad in a message to them.
And who are the kids involved here?
Mason, Augustus, and Zaylee.
And how old is Zaylee again?
5,
And Augustus is how
7,
old? And Mason?
13.
13. Okay. And so this was a message that was sent to the 3 children?
Yes.
In a group messaging?
Yes.
Okay. And this was taken when, do you know, or sent?
It was the end of October,
Of this year?
maybe. Yes.
Well, I think it's been substantiated. So.
I just want you to know that one day I'm gonna have to leave this world without saying goodbye to you. I don't want you to know that everything I did was for you, and that you weighed heavy on my heart every single day because all I ever did was think about you. I wanted the best for you. I never wanted you to see the things that you saw. Never wanted you to go through the things that you went through. Sometimes life gets hard, and I need you to understand that I tried my best and I love you so much.
Now, Mrs. Strickland, does your husband have a problem with alcohol?
Yes.
Can you just tell the court briefly, what have you observed while you were still cohabitating with regards to alcohol use?
He would stay, it started out years ago where all the guys would come after work and they would all sit there and drink. And then it became a weekend thing where they would hang out at our smokehouse and drink. And then as it slowly progressed throughout the years, it became where he would come home he would go and do estimates most half of the day, and then he would come home and he would drink. He would come home and he would go to sleep like at 6 or so on the couch and pass out on the couch. And then towards this last year, he would stay in his shop until various hours drinking.
How could you tell, you've been with him for, many years now, how can you tell that he has been drinking to an excess? What kind of behavior are you seeing or have you seen him do?
Aggression. I can tell by the look in his eyes. I can smell by the smell of his urine. He's urinated in our floor several times.
He urinated where now?
In our floor,
Which floor?
in our bedroom floor.
And did any of the children see that?
Yes.
All the children, or?
I believe by the time it was all cleaned up that they had all seen it.
You can identify that document?
It's a text message between me and him.
Okay. And who sent the message first?
He did.
Can you just read that? Well, tell me, do you recall when that message was sent to you?
I believe it was in August. The end of August,
And
maybe September.
Can you read his message to you?
Well, despite what you think, I'm doing the same thing, barely making it, drinking myself to sleep every night. The little amount of sleep that I do get, so there you go. And I have so much more to deal with on top of all that. The whole world is on my shoulders.
I would like to enter the video first as an exhibit, and then the text message.
And you have that video to work on a thumb drive that
I
you
do
can.
have it.
All right.
I'm going to move on to the ex parte order on the house, okay? So, what was he, in the agreed order, you all agreed that he was, that the house will be continued to be put on the market, correct?
Mhm.
So what transpired after that?
Several things. He told me that I had 10 days to make a decision on what I wanted. And if I didn't have that decision by 10 days, that he was going to sell the house for whatever he could and auction off everything else. The last couple of days before this was filed, he told me that he was selling it to Mark Spain for whatever they offered him, and that they were sending an appraiser out to appraise it. and he was going to accept their offer.
And was there an appraisal done of that
Yes.
house? And so when did that happen? You recall?
I don't know the exact date. It was here recently.
Within this December or?
Yeah.
Okay. Who was the appraiser, do you know?
Her name was Carrie. That's all I know.
Does he work for Mark Spain or?
Mark Spain sent her, is what that's in a message, that's what he told me, that she worked for Mark Spain.
That your husband told you?
Yes.
Okay. And all these executive decisions that he was making, was he asking for your opinion on this?
Not at all.
Okay. To your knowledge, is the house still on the market?
The last time I checked, it was not.
Okay. Did he consult with you on, hey, we're not gonna follow the agreed order, I'm just gonna take it off the market?
He told me once that, before all of the other, he told me that he had decided to keep the property and that he was gonna buy me out.
Okay.
And then it switched back to being sold again, so.
Okay. And that's not in the agreed order,
No.
correct? Okay. And again, we have asked for the ex parte order because of this issue. What type of behavior were you observing from him to make you feel so concerned about this?
Because he keeps pressuring me, and it's all about me he wants me to tell him what I want. And since I don't do that, he threatens to shut off everything and to sell the house for what pay off and auction everything else off.
Okay.
And, I don't have anywhere else to go, and he doesn't communicate with me on it, so.
Well, at this point in time, are you in the position to make a decision? Do you have all the information you need to make a decision on property division in this case?
No, I have none.
And you're still in the process of discovery, correct? And then you testify that your husband was trying to pressure you into just.
He has from the time all of this started,
Okay.
almost every day.
And does that concern you as to, him just making a decision on his own about the house?
Yes, he will.
Okay. And is it your request from the court to basically continue this order to where he will need to ask the court's permission before he even accepts an offer?
Yes.
Does he discuss with you any offers at all?
No.
Okay.
And I've tried, it was put in the order that I was to be able to communicate with the realtor, and I have not been able to contact her. I've tried calling, I've left her text messages, I've left her voicemails, and have not heard from her once.
Okay. So you haven't been given any access despite of the agreed order that you're going to be
Yes.
given? Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to the ex parte on his visitation. Is it your goal to prevent him from having visitations with the children?
Absolutely not. For years, I've been begging him to be that father that they need.
After we got this order, was there any opportunity for him to see the children? Did he try to see the children?
Yeah. Well, since we've gotten this
After
one.
the order, yes.
No, he told me that he was given a restraining order and he was not allowed to see them. I told him that was false. It was restrained to keep him from taking them out of my care. And that Gus wanted to come up there and give him a hug. And he said that he couldn't do that because he wasn't allowed to, that he had talked to his lawyer and the officer that brought him the thing, and they said that he couldn't come, is what he told me. I have last week, Gus asked again if he could go up there and give him a hug. So I texted him and said, Gus wants to give you a hug. And he said, it's your world, you can do whatever. And so I took Mason and Gus up there and he gave them a hug.
Okay. And so, as you've testified, the order does not prevent him from seeing the children, correct?
it
And
does not.
you reiterated that to him.
I did.
And I also reiterated that to his attorney, correct?
Yes.
And despite that, he just did not made any effort
Mm-mm.
to see the children after the order, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, as far as the visitation is concerned, what are you requesting from the court?
I need to know that he is doing his part on the drug and alcohol and the psych evaluation, and that he's putting out effort to try to do the right thing to see his kids,
Okay.
to be a part of their life without all of the unnecessary involved in it.
Okay. You testified earlier, the picture was taken in his camper,
Yes.
correct? And the marijuana use, does that predominantly happen in the camper as well?
Yes.
Would you be comfortable if his visitation occur at the main house and he be prohibited from
Yes.
doing it in the camper? Okay. Would you be okay with him having overnight visits in the main house, the big house?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as he agrees not to have the marijuana there.
Correct. Okay, I'm going to move on to the petition for contempt, okay? So, Mr. Strickland, what was he doing that was in violation of the orders in this matter?
He's several times he has said stuff to, right after our court date on October 20th, he went and told David that I was trying to do everything I can to take his kids away from him.
And that was recorded, correct?
Yes.
That was right after we came out of the court.
Yes.
And right after he got served with a complaint and a restraining order, correct?
Yes.
So I would like to play, I'm not gonna play it, but you will need to identify it.
Okay.
Is this audio or video?
Video, Judge.
Can you identify that recording?
Yes, it's one I took on October 20th.
And was that the day that we were here, right after
Yes,
the
right
hearing?
after we got there, back to the house.
And who are going to be in that recording?
It will be Patrick, David, my oldest, and then Mason.
Mason is the 13-year-old?
Yes.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay. Because your mother is trying to do everything against me, including my children. And I'm not getting another lawsuit or that I'm letting you do donuts in the driveway or that. I'm sorry. Okay? And I'm sorry that you feel the way that you feel. But one day you're gonna look back and you're gonna be like, oh, I was grown different. You keep doing what you're doing, but you gotta follow the rules, the court order. You understand that? You have to follow the rules, and I just told you that you can't drive around the property. You don't have to drive it. When you get your driver's license, then you can drive it on the road. You gotta put it in work.
Okay, so who was in the driver's seat?
David.
And David is your son, not with Mr. Strickland, correct?
Correct.
But you do have the other child, Mason,
Yes.
correct? Who was listening to all of this?
Yes, he was standing right behind me.
Where the divorce proceedings were being discussed. Is
Right.
that correct? Okay. And then you already talked about the marijuana then the rifle. So the last allegation here on your contempt is selling of items. What, can you go over the items that your husband sold?
He sold a Suburban. He sold an excavator, which is a machine for the company. And he sold another one of the machines.
And this was after you filed for divorce and he was served, correct?
Yes, after.
And after the hearing, is that correct?
Correct.
Did he talk to you about selling these personal properties prior to him selling them?
No, he told me he was going to sell them. And he
Okay.
told me that he was selling them to pay bills.
Okay. Well, did he purchase anything after that?
Yes, he bought him another vehicle.
Okay. So he told you he was selling them to pay for bills, but then he turns around and bought a vehicle.
Yes.
What type of vehicle was it, you know?
I'm not 100% sure. It's it's an SUV.
It's an
of some
SUV.
sort, just like an Expedition.
And then I do have another video, Your Honor, that Can you identify that video, please?
Yes, this is the day that he sold the machine that he is loading up.
And who was taking that video?
I was.
I'm selling everything.
Well, you can't.
Yes, I can. As
Why?
long as I give you half the money, I can sell whatever I want.
Did we hear him say he can sell whatever he wants? Basically?
Yes.
This is after y'all entered into an agreed order.
Yes.
Correct? Now, have you seen the money that were exchanged, that was exchanged on the Suburban, the excavator, and the horse trailer?
I haven't seen anything. He told me he would give me the bill of sale, and I have not seen those either.
Okay. Was there anything else that he sold after these 3 items?
There's 2 machines that he sold.
Well, do you know the type of machine?
Not at the moment. I can't think of it.
Okay. Do you know how much he sold them for?
I do not.
There were 2 machines.
Mm-hmm.
Were these machines used for his business?
Yes.
To your knowledge, is he still operating the tree cutting business?
As far as I know, he is. He told me that he shut it down, but I know that they've worked this last week.
Okay. That's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
Sanders, you may cross-examine. Ms. Hutchinson, did you want to make exhibits of those videos as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is the next exhibit to be filed? Are all of them on one thumb drive?
Yes.
Just to show that they'll be all marked on this next exhibit in order, but we'll show them all on one thumb drive.
Strickland, looking back at the exhibits here that have been entered, exhibit number 1 here, it's a picture of,
Mason,
but he's wearing some sort of mask, but you're confident that's Mason?
100%.
And I see that photograph there is dated November the 22nd. But do you know when that photograph was taken?
It was December 22nd.
How do you know that?
Because he posted it on Snapchat, and Snapchat, your stuff deletes after so long.
Well, but isn't it true that on Snapchat, one can post a picture that they've taken previously?
Possibly.
Okay. Is it possible that he did that?
No, he told me when that happened, because I talked to him about that picture.
And he wouldn't lie to you?
No.
Do you know who was home when this picture was taken?
No.
You don't know? Is it possible that he just went into the camper?
No, he was staying up there because Holden was there.
Now, tell the court, if you would, the living situation out there on your property. There is a home, correct?
Correct.
A marital home, and that's where you're currently living with your children.
Correct.
And then there's also a camper on the property where Mr. Strickland is staying.
Correct.
In addition to that, he has a shop building where cars and different things like that are stored.
We have a freezer in there with meat and everything's there, yeah.
And since you all have been married, everything that you all own is owned by Mr. Strickland's business, correct?
He has it in, most everything is in the business's name.
So the house that you all own, your property, your land, who owns that land?
We do.
And what's the name on the deed?
Music City Tree Service.
Okay.
No, pull that microphone a little closer, the base of it. You don't have to scoot up. There you go. Repeat your answer. Who owns the property?
Music City Tree Service.
And that is an LLC that is owned and operated by your husband, correct?
As far as yeah.
And you all have a banking account that is also in the name of his business,
Yes.
correct? Where is that bank account?
Regions.
And is that where all the money that is made gets deposited? As far as you know?
I mean, it's supposed to.
And is that how all the bills are paid, out of that account?
Most of them.
Okay. And you don't earn any income, do you? You don't work?
Right now, I do.
You do work. Where do you work?
I work for a cleaning service.
And are you contributing toward any of the household bills?
No.
Mr. Strickland pays everything right now, correct?
Other than whatever I can afford, like gas and stuff for the kids.
But he pays your car note, insurance, health insurance, house note, mortgage, everything?
Yes.
Okay. What did you call this gun that your son's holding?
An AR.
And what makes you think it's an AR?
Because the way it looks.
Okay, is it just because it's black?
It's an AR.
You're confident of that? Okay. Are you aware that it's a deer rifle? I mean, it's black, it looks tactical, but do you know that it's a AR-15?
Yeah.
Okay. Exhibit 2 here that you entered, who are these other people that are in these images?
They're just on the meme that was posted.
So this is your son sharing memes?
Yes.
Okay. And exhibit 3 here was a post made by your husband, Mr. Strickland, and it's got the name J.J. Kilpatrick there at the top. Who is J.J. Kilpatrick?
The person that made the post.
This is a meme.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it was set to music because it has a play button. And your husband shared a meme on some social media account that he has? Okay. Now, Mason, your son, have the two of you had problems, you and Mason, recently?
He has, I wouldn't say that me and him have problems. He has behavioral problems with his little brother and his older brother.
Well, in fact, you've asked him to leave your house, the big house, and go and stay with his father, which he's done, correct?
No.
And
That's
in fact, he
all.
was staying with his father when you got the restraining order.
He was staying with his father when I got the restraining order. That's not how that happened.
You were upset that Mason wanted to live with his father,
Nope,
and in retaliation sought a restraining order. Isn't that
absolutely
correct?
not. Nope.
But Mason was living with his father when the restraining order was sought and received,
Yes.
correct? Okay. And how long had Mason been living with his father?
He sent me a message on November 19th telling me he was going to go stay with his dad because Holden was there. And I told him, okay,
And Holden
is his biological that got adopted.
Hey, you mentioned your husband with the marijuana. Do you know what product is that your husband uses?
I do.
What is that?
He gets it from Perfect Plant, but he also buys it from another guy that's not legal.
So what is Perfect Plant?
All I know is what he's told me.
Is it a place where you can purchase legal cannabis products?
Yes.
Okay. And you've seen your husband in possession of that and he's
Yes.
told you about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The video that you introduced, I think that was, I don't know, how did we number that, Ms. Lynn? It was the first video. Are they all together?
They're all on one stick, but we have,
That's what she said.
Okay. That first video where we can hear a voice talking and you said it was sent through some sort of group messaging. Whose voice were we hearing?
It's another one of the social media videos.
So those weren't.
It was not his voice,
Not
no.
his voice. He was sharing something that someone else had written. Okay. How much money do you earn?
This month, I've made $350 something dollars.
Is there a reason why you don't get a job?
I have a job.
A job that pays more than $350 a month?
Well, so this month, I've had a kid with COVID. I've had a kid with strep throat, and we've had the stomach bug,
Okay.
which has prevented me from working.
What about the month before?
The month before, it was better.
What
I
did
worked
you make
more,
last month?
like 13 or 14 maybe.
And what bills did you pay with that?
I paid, I bought food, I bought gas, I bought the kids new shoes, the two little ones new shoes, and I bought them some winter clothes.
Because right now, Mr. Strickland pays all the bills, correct?
Correct.
Cell phone, cable, everything.
There's no cable. I pay my own Netflix,
And then he additionally gives you how much money?
400
$400 per what?
week.
Per week.
Your Honor, I'm gonna object with the line of questioning. It's not relevant to the ex parte motions and the contempt motion. There's no relationship to living expenses between the parties.
how is it relevant, Mr.?
It will become relevant when the court hears from my client about these assets that were sold, and from his perspective, why it came
Overrule
to
the
that.
objection, I'll allow it for that limited purpose.
So your house, according to what you think, what you know, is not listed for sale right now?
Right.
Who was your real estate agent?
Her name was Leslie.
Okay. But as of now, it's not listed on the market as far as you know?
No, not that I know of.
Were you required to keep the house in a condition to be shown?
Yes, with a 24-hour notice.
Okay. And would you agree that during parts of this time, the house has been in a condition that it would not be appropriate for showing?
There, since the 20th that we have came in, there is, the 24 hours is plenty of time to clean up what he's saying isn't showable.
Are you aware that Mr. Strickland cleaned the house during one of the stays when he was there visiting with the children?
Yeah.
You're
I
aware
mean,
of that?
I'm assuming he did. I didn't see him do it, but
Well, it was dirty when you left and it was clean when you got back and he had been there.
I don't know what you mean by dirty, because do you have pictures of dirty?
Yes.
Okay, can I see them? Because
Well, you,
when I left in the morning, I had 30 minutes from putting the kids on the bus to the time I had to go to work. So I ran that 30 minutes doing everything I possibly could to make sure that it was clean by the time he came in that night, because I know he comes in and he takes pictures of everything.
you showed a video of your husband talking to someone in a Bronco?
Yes,
He was talking to who?
David.
David. And I heard him saying something about you can't drive around the yard, or what was that about?
He used to let David drive that Bronco, telling him he needed to drive it. And now, since all of this is going on between me and him, David's not allowed to do any of that anymore.
So he was telling him about not driving the Bronco around?
Yes.
And David is your son, but not y'all's son together, correct?
Not biologically, no.
Well, Mr. Strickland, has he asked you what it is that you want?
Yes, multiple times.
Has he offered to let's just sell the house and you can have the money?
Yes, but I don't trust him. He's told me multiple things. This isn't the last year we were getting a divorce too. He told me that I could have that equity in the house. It was $100,000. I could have the equity as long as I take that and leave in my car and my grandma's truck. Well, when we got back together, I found out that, oh, I'm going to list the house for $1.2 million. I lied to you about how much the house was worth. He keeps me out of all the business deals. He put everything in the business's name, so I wouldn't know anything. I'm not on the business account. So how am I supposed to trust anything he tells me?
That's all right, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Yes, these are all his guns that he removed from the property.
And how many guns does he have? Do you know?
No, I know he had 2 huge safes full of them.
Are they in the camper?
Some of them were.
So the AR is not the only weapon
No.
that he would have in the camper.
No, he carries a little handgun on his side at all times. And I'm sure that's there also. And then a couple of these, I don't know guns, so.
About how many guns are in that photo there?
10 maybe?
Okay. And is that all of the guns,
No.
or is that part of his
No,
collection?
that's just part of it.
Okay. And so at any given point in time when any of the children are in the camper, would they be exposed to some type of weapon?
If he still carries the handgun around, yes. It used to be an issue. He would come in at nighttime and lay it on the kitchen counter, and I would pick it up and put it in a cabinet up high, and he would get mad at me and say that there was no sense in that because our kids know how to handle guns and they know gun safety.
Okay. And again, you have a 6-year-old, correct?
A 5 and a 7.
A 5 and a 7, then a 13-year-old. And I'm gonna go to the LLC situation. So the LLC, who is the sole member of this LLC?
Patrick,
Who is the sole operator of this LLC?
Patrick,
And so who is making all the decisions as far as finances in this LLC?
he does.
As far as you know, the 2022 income tax, how did he file his income tax?
I think, I think it's sole proprietor. He filed it, as far as what I understood the accountant telling me, he filed as a sole proprietor.
Okay, not an LLC, but a sole proprietor.
Right.
Okay. The LLC, when was that established? Was it during the marriage or after the
Yes.
marriage? During the marriage?
During,
Did you work for the LLC at some point?
I wrote payroll for a while. And when it was time to do the taxes, I would add up all his receipts and stuff.
Okay, so you
And I did a little
work for the LLC.
Yes, I did. I was a secretary for a little while.
Okay. As far as the bank accounts, you were asked about that.
Mhm.
As far as you know, are there any other bank accounts aside from the LLC's bank account?
Yeah, I know he has a personal account. He used to have a savings account last year. I don't know if he closed that down or not. And he used to have a Pinnacle account that's closed off. I know he's got Venmo and Cash App, and he's been paid through those before.
And do you have access to any of these bank accounts?
No.
Okay.
The Pinnacle account, I had a card to, and when I needed money, I would ask him for money and he would put it in there. I couldn't go into the bank and find out anything about the account. The Regions account I was on for the time that I was writing checks, so I could sign the checks.
Okay.
But I couldn't make changes or any of that with that account. I was just a
That's
signer.
when you were working for the LLC. Okay. You were asked about your job situation.
Mhm.
Was it your sole decision to be a stay-home mom
No,
prior to you working now?
we couldn't afford to pay for daycare.
Okay. And so on top of the 3 children that you have with Mr. Strickland, you also have your 3 other children,
2.
correct? I'm sorry, 2.
Mhm.
Okay. And soon after you filed for the divorce, you started looking for a job, correct?
Yes.
And what is your education?
I graduated high school.
High school. Okay. And do you plan to advance your career at some point?
Yeah, eventually.
Okay. Was it agreed in the order that he was gonna pay all of the bills as he has been
Yes.
doing?
Yes.
And you were gonna get $400 a month?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he agreed to do that, correct? Okay. And then as far as Mason wanting to live with Mr. Strickland, did you say that it was because Holden, Mr. Strickland, other son, was there visiting? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason he's saying that is because the Mason was cussing me, and I told him if he was going to treat me like his dad, that he could go stay in the camper with his dad if he wanted to. I wasn't keeping him from going up there.
Who were you referring to? Was it Mr. Strickland?
Yes.
Okay.
He didn't go when that happened. That's what he's trying to turn this instant into. And when he went to the camper, he said, "Mom, I have a text message where he said, I'm going to stay up there."
Okay.
He stayed up there with Holden. They weren't allowed to come down to the house unless they had to come and get clothes and leave. He wasn't allowed to talk to me. Or I don't know if he wasn't allowed or if he was just scared to talk to me because he was staying there.
Okay. As far as the house is concerned, was it agreed to in that order that both parties were supposed to help make it ready
Yes.
for showing?
Yes.
Okay. And you testify that, so how many children would you have in that house?
5.
You have 5 children.
5 kids, 2 dogs, a bird, and a cat.
Okay. So you said you're doing the best you can to get it. Do you want that house sold?
I didn't when it started.
But at some point, because you're
I
in
feel like I
divorce-
have to. I'm not gonna be able to afford it. I
Yeah.
don't know where we're gonna go or how I'm gonna afford to go somewhere else, but
But you wouldn't do anything to prevent
no.
it from
No.
being sold. So if you,
I agreed for it to stay on the market. That's the only option, really.
that's all I have.
Before we take a recess, let me ask this question. What exactly are you asking me to do? I know the temporary restraining order regarding the children is my main concern, but what specifically are you wanting to have go forward from here?
With the kid,
Yes.
I want him to do the stuff that he's required. With his alcohol assessment, they give you a recommendation of what they think needs to be done. My whole thing with all of this is that there was the drinking issue. And I wanted him to get help, and I stayed a long time because I wanted that.
So from today forward, what do you want to do about letting him see the children while he may or may not be doing what he's supposed to be doing?
My kids need him and they want to see him, and I don't want to keep that from
I understand
ever
that.
happening.
That's why I'm
So
asking you the
if
question. So-
him come to the house to do it, where he's not up there, where he keeps his stuff.
Well, and if he comes to the house, where are you going to go?
Before I would find somewhere.
All right, we'll take a 15-minute recess.
All rise. Court's in recess for 15 minutes. All rise. Court's now back in session. You may be seated.
Ms. Hendrickson, were you finished with your client's testimony?
Yes,
I
Your
failed to
Honor.
ask that before I took a recess. Were you finished questioning her as well?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Hendrickson, you may call your next witness.
Mr. Strickland, Your Honor.
Pardon?
Mr. Strickland.
All right. Mr. Strickland, if you'll come up.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Can you state your full name for the record, please?
Patrick Orlando Strickland.
And soon after your wife filed for the divorce complaint, were you served with the divorce complaint?
I was, yes, ma'am. We were supposed to do it together, and it was a surprise.
And in that divorce complaint, it had a restraining order, statutory injunction. Do you recall that?
No, ma'am, I do not.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Do you recall that document?
That's the divorce complaint that was served to you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you flip to the very last page there? And it does say there the statutory injunctions, correct?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it does say that you're forbidden from selling or dissipating marital assets, correct?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Now, how much did you sell the Suburban for?
I sold it for $3,000.
And you didn't ask your wife about that before selling, did you?
No, ma'am. I told her that the house payment was due and I couldn't pay it, and that was the only way to pay it.
Okay. What about the horse trailer? How much did you sell that for?
I sold it for $700.
I'm sorry, how much was the Suburban again? I'm sorry.
It was $3,000.
3,000, okay. You didn't ask Mrs. Strickland about that either. You just sold it, correct?
I told her that I had to sell something to pay the payments, and she told me she didn't care. And I told her I wasn't going to default on the payments.
Was that by a text or by a oral
Verbal.
agreement? Okay. So she told you that she didn't care?
She told me that she wanted her half.
I'm talking about the horse trailer. Did you specifically ask your wife or discuss with her that, wife, I'm planning on selling the horse trailer? Did you
Not,
have that conversation with your wife?
not specifically the horse trailer.
So the
It
answer
was,
is no, sir. Is that the answer? No? You did not have a discussion?
yes, I did have a discussion with her about selling the horse trailer, among other things, because our bills were months behind and they needed to be paid.
Did you all talk about how much that horse trailer should be sold for?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What about the excavator? How much did you sell that for?
It was $10,000. It was broken. It needed thousands of dollars worth of repair.
Did you discuss that with your wife before you made that decision?
Yes, ma'am.
Did she approve?
No, ma'am. As long as she got her half, she would approve.
Did she get a half of any of this?
She got her payments paid. I didn't get half of it either.
And what did you pay again for the Suburban?
I'm sorry?
What did you pay with the money that you got for the Suburban?
The house payment. I had to put $600 more with it because the house payment is $3,600.
What about the excavator? That's 10,000. What did you pay with that?
It was a combination of things. She'd let the light bills get behind to almost 2 years on the landfill, and so I had to pay that. I had to pay the CPA so she could get the $4,000 tax return that she got.
How much did you pay the landfill? I'm sorry.
It was almost $1,200 or $1,300 that she had let it lapse for the last 2 years.
And then the CPA, how much did you pay?
It was, at that time, it was $1,700. It was a cashier's check.
Okay, what else did you pay?
I paid her car payment. I paid the insurance. I paid my car payment. I paid the house payment. I paid the light bills. I paid the water bill. I paid the phone bill.
So did you use up the whole $10,000?
I used that plus 15 more.
Well, prior to this, where did the need come from? Because you had a business, right? You
I
had
did
a business.
until she drained the account and shut my advertising off. So
How did she drain the account?
She run half of my crew off.
What do you mean when you say she drained the account?
Well, when we were supposed to go and get a divorce together with one lawyer, so the kids wouldn't be, in all of it, we were supposed to do it together. And then I was surprised with this, and I told her all the payments because she would pay all the payments online with the debit card from the business account, and she let all those get behind on purpose to sabotage me. And then I told her,
Sir, you're not answering the question. How did she drain the account? Did she withdraw the
Yes.
money from the account?
Well, all the payments that she neglected to pay, she paid all in one day without consulting with me or anything. And that made everything else go in default. $9,000 in advertising. My payroll went in default that week.
When did that happen?
Shortly after she filed these papers
So that would have been,
in August.
so you're saying that she withdrew the money from the account. Is this the LLC account?
Yes, ma'am.
She has access to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she have access to that now?
Not now. Oh, yes, ma'am. I think if she still has the card information, she still has access to it.
So she withdrew the money from there, and then y'all paid allegedly all the payments that were behind, correct? So then why did you have to use the Suburban money, the excavator money, and the horse trailer then, if y'all got caught up with the bills?
She paid the bills in August that were behind from months before, and then it caused everything else to default. So my advertising got shut off, so I had no revenue coming in for 3 months, and my bills are almost $18,000 a month that I pay, and I had no revenue coming in.
Okay,
Half
but
of
it's
my
not her fault that you didn't have revenue, right? So it's not because the default did not happen because of her. She withdrew the money is what your testimony is, and she paid the bills that were delayed. And then because more bills came in, as time went by, and you're saying that you didn't have income, and so that's when you got delayed bills, correct?
She let the bills lapse on purpose. And then when she knew she would get in trouble for it, she paid them all at once. Instead of asking me, do you have stuff that comes out? I need to pay this. She paid all the stuff that she needed to pay, including the light bill at the house, but she didn't pay the light bill at the shop, which was where I was living. And they almost cut it off. I had to leave from Kyle's office to go pay it. And that caused my advertising to default because I didn't have the money to pay it. And my advertising got shut off, so my phone doesn't ring anymore.
The mini excavator do you recall the assets that you submitted, music
I
CD?
do, yes, ma'am.
Okay. You listed here E35 mini excavator, and then you priced it, value is 25,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the value that you assigned to that.
That was in working order. The machine
And you
wasn't
sold it for 10,000.
in non-working order.
Well, you didn't put in here working order 25,000. You just put 25,000 there.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
In working order, it's worth 25,000.
All right. Isn't it true that you were indeed was admitted to Horizon and then went to the Columbia Mental Facility back in August?
Yes,
Correct?
she called and had me committed. Yes, ma'am.
Are you sure that she was the one
I'm
who called,
positive.
or your nephew Cameron?
It was her and Cameron that called. No one ever called me.
Well, isn't it true that you told the police you had a gun
No, ma'am.
in your mouth? So
No, ma'am.
police officer
No, he
Beasley
misconstrued what
is
I said.
lying?
No, he
in his
misconstrued what I
report?
said.
Okay.
This one at a time.
I'm sorry.
A court reporter can't take you both down.
Apologize.
This is
I'm
not
sorry.
a conversation. It's a question and answer format.
Yes, sir.
You ask the question, wait for him to answer, then you answer them before you begin her next question.
Yes, sir.
So from what I gather, you're saying that you did not tell Officer Beasley that you had a gun in your mouth the night before he found you by the cemetery, correct? Is that what your testimony is?
I'm saying I did not say that.
So
Yes,
he
ma'am.
was lying in his police report when he did that, when he put that in his report, correct?
Can I answer that, Your Honor?
I'm sorry, she's asking if,
I'm not going to call the man a liar. I believe he misunderstood me. What I told the man was that I wanted to, that she had put me in that place, that she had manipulated me and made me feel that way. That instead of that, what I did, I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. What I did is I took the bullet out of the gun and I wrote my name on it. Because the old saying goes, everybody has a bullet with their name on it. Make sure yours doesn't find you.
Okay,
So-
so you can confirm, you are confirming that you did carve your name on a bullet?
Yes, ma'am, I
Okay,
did.
now, when you got to the hospital, isn't it true that it was just you and the doctor there making an assessment of you,
No,
correct?
ma'am.
Was Lindsay there?
No, he called her on the phone. And then next thing I know, they were taking me to Columbia. And if you get
Did you sign the admission form there?
No, ma'am. I don't
Did you,
believe I
so
did.
if I get the documents, which I'm waiting for, I will see there that you had refused treatment.
I
Is that
refused
true?
the medicine that they were going to try
No,
to
the
give me.
admission is what I'm asking.
I don't know, ma'am. I was upset. I admit that I was upset. I was frustrated.
Well, she caught you cheating that day
No,
that it
she didn't.
happened.
No, ma'am.
She saw the name of that lady on your phone and you
That
had
is-
a argument.
That is the mother of my firstborn son, and he was in trouble, and that was the conversation between me and her. And I showed those text messages to her that night, and it blew up, and I left because she wouldn't stop badgering me. So I left, and I told her I was leaving and she could have everything.
How long were you at the Pinewood Mental Facility
4
in
days.
Columbia? Was there any recommendation for you to seek therapy or any type of treatment?
I'm not sure. I know that the nurses and the staff were astonished that I was there, not having, and that they explained to me that the demographic of most people that commit is middle-aged men. So I kind of understood that. So I I did their programs and stuff, but I did not want to take their medicine because I'm biased on pharmaceuticals.
Well, so when was the last time you used marijuana, the illegal kind?
I don't know, 8 years.
8 years?
Yes, ma'am.
So when I read on your Main Street report where you told the person making the assessment that you use marijuana every day, were you lying then? Because I can pull it up here.
No, ma'am. I'm referring to marijuana as the legal CBD that I buy from the Perfect Plant store.
Oh, so when
I
you
mean,
say,
it's potato. It's CBD, it's hemp, but it's not illegal.
so in the Main Street, when you had your alcohol and drug assessment, you told the person there that you are using marijuana every day, correct?
Yes,
Is that-
ma'am. I
okay.
referring to the legal.
Oh, you didn't say that there, you just said marijuana. And then isn't it true that you did a urine drug screen about maybe a week after we were here and you tested positive?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you do the November 30th drug screen?
No, it was way before that because I was forthcoming that I use CBD
Did
for.
you provide your lawyer the result of that?
The workforce place did, yes, ma'am.
We didn't get that result just yet, so now there's an order for psychological evaluation. Have you done that?
I have definitely tried. Yes, ma'am. I've went to multiple places in Dixon. I even set an appointment up in a place in Madison, and it's all inpatient stuff. They don't do one-time psychic evaluations. I've been consulting with Mr. Sanders about that and haven't resolved it yet.
Okay. What places did you go to in Dixon?
I forget the names. Everyone.
Where in Dixon?
I called them and asked them. I didn't actually. I went to the health department. I know that, and then there was. It's a weird name. I'm not
Well,
sure.
if Mrs. Strickland tells you where she got hers,
I'll definitely go
you-
get one. Yes, ma'am.
okay, we provided that to your attorney, so a while back. Did you know that Mason has been taking marijuana from your camper, taking it to the main house?
No, he hasn't been taking marijuana from my camper.
Is David taking marijuana from your camper?
No, David gets it from his friends and
Okay,
Lindsay's friend.
I'm gonna show you a text message. You recognize that text messaging?
Uh-huh.
Can you read your part of the message?
Yes, ma'am. Says you took something out of my van that didn't belong to you, didn't you?
Go ahead. Just your portion of the message.
Hello. Says, yeah, sorry, I just woke up. I said, you know, that's all I had. I leave roaches everywhere. If you're gonna steal something, steal those. Don't steal my weed anymore. It's gonna be a problem for us.
And that was the message that you sent to David, correct?
Yeah, because he's breaking into my buildings and my vehicles and stealing.
So you want him to just steal the roaches, which are the partially used weed, correct?
It was out of context. And I don't want him to steal none of it.
Your Honor, I would like to enter that as an exhibit.
Mark it as the next exhibit. 8.
You know, did they diagnose you? I'm gonna go back to the admission to the mental facility. Did they diagnose you? Did they provide a diagnosis to you? Depression, bipolar?
I'm not sure, no.
Okay.
They had no diagnosis. They diagnosed me as not being, and they let me go.
What is the situation on the home? Is it still up in the market or is it taken down? Because the last time I checked, it's not. It says it's taken off the market.
No, ma'am, it is taken off the market because it never was in showing order. The last time I showed it, the smell of feces in the home was so bad you couldn't even walk in.
All right, so the order was for you all to keep it on the market. So now you took it off the market on your own volition, correct? Without any leave of court or permission from the court or agreement between you and your wife. You just took it upon yourself to do that, correct?
I informed her that there was no way we were going to sell it and we would have to take cash for it and she could have all the money.
Are you still engaging with with Mark Spain?
No, the lady came out and I'm sure Lindsay called them and threatened them. They haven't.
Did you see Lindsay threaten any of them that you're talking about?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But you did tell her that whatever Mark Spain offer you will take, correct?
And that she could have it all. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm going to show you the text that you sent her.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there that's saying she can take it all. You just said that you will take whatever offer you get from Mark Spain, correct?
I've got the same text message that says she can have all the money.
Can you read that text message?
I would
Was
be
that
happy
a
to.
message
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you sent to your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And just FYI, I have had to shut the company down. I'm going to go to work for someone else. I am selling everything. I will make sure it is all documented and you get your half. Whatever Mark Spain offers for the house, I will be taking. Once the mortgage is paid off, you can have everything that's left. Minus the $10,000 that we agreed each of us get. I'm getting photos together now for the online estate sale that also will be documented, and you will get your share. Just know any assets you plan to take with you will be deducted from your part of the liquid capital. Have a great Sunday.
Okay. It says here you get half of whatever Mark Spain offers.
No, ma'am.
That's what you said.
No, ma'am.
I will make sure it is all documented and you get your half, whatever Mark Spain. You haven't had an agreement on property division, right? Have you?
Because she won't agree on anything.
Yes or
No,
no?
ma'am.
You
No,
don't
ma'am.
have an agreement. This is your executive decision again, correct? You're telling her what you are going to do, correct? Even after you all had an agreed order that you all under oath said, yes, we agree to that.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
judge ratified that, he signed it into an order.
No.
After that, there you go, making your own executive decision, correct?
When it comes to yes, ma'am. When it comes to my children's well-being, I'm going to do whatever I have to do.
And you did tell your wife you were going to sell everything in that recording there, correct? Are you still planning on selling everything?
I mean, that's the only way.
Without her agreement?
She's not gonna agree on it, ma'am, because
But you don't ever talk to her about it.
Yes, ma'am, I do. Yes, ma'am, I do. All the time. I beg her to keep the kids out of it. I beg her to I've given her options to take everything and just give me my visitation with my children. I'll pay whatever child support and alimony I need to pay because this situation is detrimental to my children's growth.
Have you shut down the business?
I had to. She shut down the business.
Well, isn't it true that after the tornado, you were doing jobs still?
1 week, I had 2 customers that called me that were previous customers. And I had to hire a company from out of state to come and help me because I have no staff anymore.
Do you have any other jobs lined up
No, ma'am.
in the future?
No, ma'am.
Where are you planning to work if you shut down this business?
I'm a tree climber. So I can work for different companies climbing trees.
You just don't want to support your children? Is that why you're shutting down the business? Why are you shutting down the business?
I didn't shut down the business. Miss Strickland shut down the business when she drained the account and my advertising was defaulted. If I had the money to pay the advertising, I would keep the business going. If I had the staff to keep the business going, I would keep the business going.
Is she in charge of getting the staff?
No, but she was in charge of running it off. Half of my staff left because of her.
Did you tell Zaylee that you're not selling the house, your 5-year-old?
I told her I didn't want to sell the house because my business is there and that's how I provide for my children.
Okay, so you're discussing this with your 5-year-old child, correct?
Maybe.
And Mason as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell Zaylee that your mother is going to live in a hotel?
No, ma'am.
In fact, you just constantly talk to the children about this divorce.
No, ma'am.
You just did that in that video. As soon as you left the courthouse, you approached David,
Because he
talking
was-
about the order that you were imposing on him as if he was the one who's supposed to be under the order. You said it's a court order, son. You need to comply. Something along those lines.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am. That when he's in my care and he's at the home, he has to abide by the rules. What she didn't tell you is that when we got home from court that day, he got in that Bronco and he went out in my parking lot in my yard and he did donuts.
You were allowing him to do that
No,
prior
ma'am.
to this.
No, ma'am. Not like that. No, ma'am. I was allowing him to drive around the
But
property.
so you're saying the agreed order applies to David? He's supposed to comply with that agreed order?
He was supposed to.
Well, who are the
mind-
parties in
Let
this
him answer
divorce?
the question, please, Ms. Hickerson, before
I
you begin
apologize,
answering
Your
that.
Honor.
It was ordered that he would mind me when he was in my care. Remember, it
That
said
is
that
not in your order, sir.
it said
correct?
that he's allowed to stay in the home when it's my weekend, but he has to abide by my rules. That was my weekend, and he, as soon as we left the courthouse, he went straight home and started doing donuts and tearing the truck up, which I inherited from my grandfather, tearing the truck up and the property. And that's not the first time he's done it. He's tore 3 4-wheelers up, tore my commercial property up, and she allowed him to do it.
How much alcohol do you drink at any given point in time?
Before all of this started, I would drink, every other night. I'd come home and have a couple of beers. I have a high stress job. But since these egregious accusations, I've drank on 3 occasions in the last 4 months.
Okay. You don't think you have a problem with ideation?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Do you think that smoking marijuana is appropriate for minor children?
I don't believe minor children should smoke marijuana, no.
But yet you told David he can get your brooch, just not the actual.
I didn't mean it like that. It was out of context. I'm sure that's how it looks.
And isn't it true when you took him on a boat trip in Florida, you just allowed him to use marijuana along
Absolutely
with your
not.
other buddies?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back to the house. So you said that it's not on the market.
No, ma'am. It's
So what is your
non-showable.
plan on that house? How are you gonna move forward with that?
It's gonna have to be sold for cash. It can't be shown, and I can't pay for it anymore.
Who told you that it cannot be shown?
I mean, you can see it in the pictures. That's the house on every given day.
Those pictures were taken prior to
No,
this.
some of those pictures were the last time I was in the home, when I had to spend all weekend cleaning it because it was dirty and there was no milk, no food, no toilet paper, no wipes, nothing in the house. I had to go spend $500 after paying her $400 that was supposed to go for the kids. I had to go spend $500 on necessities for the children because she neglected to do so.
Do you think that the $400 is gonna be enough for the 5 children that she has and then extra things that needed to be done in the house? Is that what you believe?
I believe with the amount of money that I pay her every month or every week for the children, that there should be toilet paper and milk in the home for my
You're paying
children.
$400 a month.
A week.
Correct?
A week.
A week, okay.
So you believe that that $400 a week should cover the extra things that needed to be covered in the house on top of the food for the children and other expenses,
What,
daily living expenses for
what-
the children?
what daily living expenses?
Sir,
I mean, what do you-
I'm gonna ask the question.
I'm
You're
sorry.
you're here to answer.
Yes, ma'am.
How many of these 5 children are your biological children?
3. I'm still all their daddies though.
What other items have you sold after we filed for this ex parte order?
Just the items that I listed with my lawyer that I had to sell to pay the bills.
What are those items?
The 2 machines, the Suburban and the horse trailer.
So I got the Suburban, the horse trailer, and the excavator. What are the other 2
It's
machines?
it's another machine. It was another broken machine.
How much did you sell that for?
15,000.
And you didn't discuss that with your wife either?
I
correct?
did, yes, ma'am.
Did you ask for ask for permission or made an agreement with her that you were gonna sell that?
No, ma'am, I told her the bills had to be paid. They were coming to get her car the next day, so I had no choice.
When was that?
I don't remember the dates on the receipt of the excavator. But the day, I mean, what day was the video that she took?
That whenever you said you were selling everything, is that the video that you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think you have a problem with alcohol,
No, ma'am.
excessive consumption of alcohol?
No, ma'am.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Samuel?
We have this, Ellen, did you want to put that as a?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
That would be number 9.
Mark it as an exhibit.
I approach, Your Honor.
Right.
Mr. Strickland, I'm going to hand you a series of photographs here and ask if you're able to identify those photographs.
Yes, sir, I can identify
Did you take
these.
those photographs?
I did.
What do those photographs depict?
Depict the negligence of my home that I built with my bare hands.
Well, be a little bit more specific for me. What are we looking at?
We're looking at very unmaintained rooms
And
and
when did
fields.
you take those photographs?
Throughout the last 3 months.
And did you take those during the times that you would go over and visit with the children?
Yes, yes, sir.
And are those photographs, were they taken during the time that the house was on the market for sale?
Yes, sir.
And when potential buyers would be coming about and onto the property to
Yes,
look
sir.
at it to buy? Okay. And would you spend time cleaning the property?
Multiple,
While
like
you were
hours
there?
and hours. Yes, sir.
And do those photographs accurately depict the condition of the home during that time period that you were there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'd like to mark those as the next exhibit collectively.
10.
Yes.
Now, there has been you have sold some equipment.
Yes, sir.
And I know we've talked a lot about the LLC. Was that LLC equipment that you sold?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did you do with that money?
I deposited it directly in the LLC account to pay the bills.
Did you hold any of that back?
No,
or
sir. Not a
deposited it
dime.
all in there?
Every dime.
Okay. How much is your house payment?
It's $3,600.
$3,600 a month?
Yes, sir.
And does that include the land and the house and the shop and everything?
Everything. Yes, sir.
And You also pay your wife's car note?
I do.
How much is her car note?
1,100.
And you have a car note?
Yes, sir.
How much is yours?
14.
Not talking about electric, water, those, and gas, those things. Do you all have any other high or expensive monthly obligations?
I have two company trucks that I owe on. They're both $1,000 a month.
A piece?
Yes, sir. It's our insurance on our vehicles are about $1,600 or $1,700 a month.
That's on all the automobiles?
Yes, sir. We have a commercial policy and a personal policy, and then we have two. You said besides light bills, and then I have $5,000 a month in advertising, and then I pay 16. It was like $1,700 a week on a loan I had for a piece of equipment that broke down that I haven't been able to pay. I'm in default on it.
You said 1,700 a week?
A week.
Okay. So when you all got divorced, your testimony was that your bills, your family, your household bills.
When they got divorced? Sorry, is that what you had?
Huh?
Restate your
Okay.
question.
That after the divorce was filed, your testimony was that y'all's household bills had gotten behind.
They were behind before she filed.
Okay. But then at some point in time, everything got paid and caught back up.
Not everything, no, sir. No, she just paid what she thought was relevant. Like she paid the house light bill, but she didn't pay the shop light bill where I stayed at, and they come to shut it off. And he called me. He's like, "It's been 9 years. You've never had your power shut off." I was kind of worried, and so I told him what was going on, and he allowed me to come and pay it and not turn it off.
And to whom were you paying advertising?
Flypaper
Fly paper?
Media.
What is that?
It's a company in Nashville.
And are they in a newspaper or where are they advertising for you?
On Google.
Okay. And that's how your business would generate
Revenue, yes,
phone
sir.
calls and things. How long had you operated that business?
I owned the business for like 18 years, but I changed the name when we moved to Nashville and became an LLC, which I owned a tree service before we got married. I just changed the name.
Right now is it Music City Tree?
Yes, sir.
Music City Tree, does it have any business right now?
None.
Does it have any jobs?
We had the tornado. I had 2 customers that called, previous customers, and we took care of them last week.
Did you finish those jobs?
I did.
And what did you make on those?
Like 11,000.
Total?
Yes, sir.
And did that money get deposited into the,
All of it but 5,000, which I have in my wallet. I haven't been able to deposit yet because I had to come here today. But it's written out to Music City Tree Service, so it has to be deposited.
and where are you working right now?
No,
You're not working for another company or?
I work for, I subcontract for multiple companies when they need me. So it's not an everyday job. It's like, hey, I got a tree for you to climb, come climb it. Is what I've resulted back to, which is what I was doing when I moved to Nashville.
Are you making anywhere near the amount of money that you made?
Not even a drop in the bucket.
As we sit here today, are you still able to continue meeting all these obligations that you agreed to?
Unfortunately,
make?
no, sir.
Now, you've got a truck, correct?
Yes, sir.
but you purchased an SUV.
Yes, sir.
Will you tell the court kind of the thought process for that?
Well, I don't make as much money as I used to, and I had to sell my equipment, my big equipment, and the truck I have is to pull that equipment. So if I don't have the equipment, then I don't need the truck, and I don't, the $1,400 a month payment. It's a $80,000 truck. So I went to pay a payment on my company trucks, and the car lot where I bought my company trucks, I have a very good relationship with him. And he had just gotten this 2003 SUV in, which was only $10,000, and he gave it to me for zero down and $400 a month. So that's cutting $1,000 off my monthly bills if I get rid of the big truck.
And would you like to be able to sell the more expensive truck?
I mean, I don't really want to sell anything that I don't have to that makes me money, but my thought process is I'm going to have to. I would rather sell it than my credit go bad or have a default.
With respect to your house, what would you like for the court to do with respect to the house?
I mean, it can't be shown because she can't keep it in showing order. So I would pray that it get auctioned off and the court give her all the money or whatever they think is fair. I'm not materialistic. I'm a hardworking man, and all I want to do is provide for my kids. And money's not it's not important to me. I mean, it is, but at the end of the day, if her taking everything I have is what's going to make her happy, she can have it as long as she don't take my kids away.
Now, Mason, did he recently come down to your house?
He did. She was being mean to him and kicked him out.
And he came, and how old is Mason?
He's 13.
And how long did he come down and stay with you?
About a week and a half. And she told me I had to make him come back, and I told her I wasn't doing it. And then the next thing I know, I got this restraining order.
Was he staying at your house whenever you got served with a restraining order or found out about it?
Yes, sir. And I told him he had to go home, and if he didn't, that the cops would come and make him. And he's like, well, I'll wait for that then. And I persuaded him not to because I didn't need the extra stress.
Now, you had an A&D assessment, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you also, did you take a drug test?
I did. Yes, sir.
And were you positive?
I was positive for THC, but I was forthcoming with that.
This product that you use, what is it called?
It's hemp, basically CBD. It's for anxiety, and I have ADHD, and I've broken 31 bones in my body. My mother OD'd whenever I was 17 from pharmaceuticals, and I'm very biased to pharmaceuticals. I hardly ever take a Tylenol. So I have a lot of pain from my profession. And then, of course, I have the top 3 deadliest job in the world. So there's a lot of high anxiety there that comes with my job.
Do you own guns?
I do, yes, sir.
Where are your guns?
They're in my safe.
In the camper?
No, in the shop.
In the shop. And does anyone have access to that?
No, sir.
How many guns do you own?
Maybe 10.
You heard your wife say that she would rather you only visit with the kids in the house during your time. How would you agree with that?
As long as she's gone. I think it's just so she can control and manipulate me.
Would that give you more room though in the house? than
It would,
the
yes, sir.
camper?
It would. But every time I go to the house, when I have my weekends with the house, I spend more time cleaning it than I do with the kids.
You mentioned recently you were there for the weekend and you said that there was no food there?
No,
Do you
sir.
recall when that was?
I'm not, it was the last weekend before she filed this restraining order.
And did you go to the store?
Yes, sir.
Where did you go?
Walmart.
And did you buy things?
Yes, sir.
Well, how much did you spend?
I spent almost $500.
And what sorts of things did you purchase?
I bought everything they needed. I bought toilet paper, I bought wipes, I bought milk, I bought chicken nuggets, I bought Pop-Tarts, just food.
Has your wife asked you for additional money?
No, sir. She
Above and
just
beyond
makes,
what you're paying?
no, sir. She's adamant. I need that money. I need that money.
Mr. Strickland, is there anything else that you need to tell the court with respect to these matters pending before the court?
I've been a provider since I was 12 years old. That's all I know. And I would never neglect my children or not provide for even her at any capacity. I've offered her everything. Last year was my last straw. My little girl was sexually assaulted in her care, and I just want what's best for my kids, and this ain't it. And I don't mind to provide. I'll work my fingers to the bone like I have for years for them and her. I wish the best for her. I wish nothing but good things for her. But I don't want my kids caught in the crossfire like they have. We were supposed to go do this together. She could have everything she wanted, and she's made me look like a bad person, and I'm not the bad man that she's trying to make me out to be. I am a hardworking, loving father that likes to drink a beer from time to time, and I would rather herbal medicine than pharmaceuticals. And I pray you see the facts, and I respect your judgment.
That's all right now, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Judge, if I can take the order changed, because I do have a person in the Zoom and his schedule is very limited. If I can have him testify.
Are you
and I'll
finished
just-
with him as a witness?
Yes, sir. If
Yeah,
I can.
yeah.
I have a couple of questions for him.
Before
You've
I
seen,
thought of one other question I wanted to ask. Mr. Strickland, I want to take you back. Since you all have been working under this agreed order, have you had to contact the police about anything related to the shop?
I did, Lindsay.
What happened?
Lindsay,
Or what did you discover?
I woke up one morning and discovered my building had been broke into and a new lock had been placed on the building where I keep my equipment to go to work.
This is the shop building?
Yes, sir.
At the property?
Yes, sir.
And did you contact the police?
I did.
And did they come out and do an
They
investigation?
did. They come out and did an investigation, and Lindsay admitted to breaking in and stealing my equipment that I used to go to work with.
Okay. And what did she take?
She took my climbing equipment and some of my chainsaws, which one of my chainsaws is still missing.
And as part of that investigation, did they make her turn those things back over to
They
you?
did. She admitted to stealing them, and they made her turn them back over.
That's all, Your Honor.
All right. You understand my job is to try to decide, oftentimes, too often really, who's telling me the truth and who's not telling me the truth. That goes to credibility.
Yes, sir.
And in credibility, that part of that becomes listening to what people say when they're under oath. Because if you lie under oath, you're committing perjury, and in a judicial proceeding, that becomes a felony.
Yes, sir.
And becomes aggravated perjury. So I want to make sure I'm understanding you. You've been saying that this is not marijuana that you're using, that despite you having tested positive, that was all a form of what I call the CBD, the legalized byproduct of hemp that Tennessee has allowed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you see the motion that was filed in this case? Motion and application for ex parte temporary restraining order restricting the father's visitation with the minor children filed November the 30th. I assume you saw that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you saw the pictures that were attached to it?
Yes,
Picture
sir.
of this plastic vial that contains obvious plant material?
Yes, sir.
All right. What is that plant material?
That is CBD.
CBD?
Yes, sir.
In the form of plant material?
Yes, sir.
And there's a mixing tray or a
Yes,
tray
sir.
right beside of what purports to be a Bible, it looks like. Ironic, that there beside of that appears to have green plant material
Yes,
as
sir.
well. And your sworn testimony today that's all CBD,
Yes, sir.
and that they sell CBD in the form of plant material that looks a remarkable amount like actual marijuana.
Yes, sir.
And you understand that CBD does not contain THC.
The CBD that I buy at the Perfect Plant does have traces of THC in it. Yes, sir.
Well, it might have a minimal trace, but you've been tested positive. It wouldn't be even enough to test positive with if you were using that.
That's the only place I get it, and that's the only product that I use.
Well, the most difficult part for me to believe you is when they see this exchange of messages with one of the children that says, when you ask him, said, you took something out of my van that didn't belong to you, didn't you? You answered yes. Or he said, hello. And he said, yeah, sorry, I just woke up. And you said, that's all I had. I'll leave roaches everywhere. Steal those. Don't steal my anymore, or it's going to be a problem for us. And your son says, yes, sir. And you want me to believe that when you're having a conversation with your son and you're making reference to weed, that you are talking about CBD?
It's just what I call it. It's just, it's.
Why would your son want to steal your CBD?
I don't know.
And you told in the Main Street interventions when they did your A&D assessment, you told them you smoked marijuana on a daily basis, didn't you?
Yes, sir. I'm referring to that as marijuana.
And when you were asked about this so-called situation, no, wait a minute. You said you were referring to CBD as marijuana when you're talking to somebody who's
Yes,
doing
sir.
a drug and alcohol?
Yes, sir. My mistake.
Step down. Who is it you have a witness for, Ms. Hickerson?
Your Honor, it's Cameron McSpadden.
What is the name?
Cameron McSpadden.
Right, they're in the waiting room. They're here, officer. We've got them they're going to be on Zoom apparently.
Yes, I should have told you that.
I've asked them to unmute and to start their video. McSpadden, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Raise your right hand. Let me place you under oath. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
All right, you're in a court proceeding. Remove your hat, please. All right. Ms. Hendrickson is here and she has asked you to be a witness, so she will be directing questions. You will be on our screen here in the courtroom so she can see you and you can see her. Go ahead.
Mr. McSpadden, can you state your full name for the record?
Cameron Michael McSpadden.
How are you related to the parties?
Orlando, or Patrick's my uncle, and Lindsay would be, well, currently is my aunt.
Okay. Where are you currently residing?
In Belleville, Arkansas.
Okay. How long have you been residing there?
3 months.
Okay. Where were you before that?
I was in Tennessee
Okay. And where were you residing in Tennessee?
with the parties.
Okay. And at their main house, the big house, or the camper?
I was living in my camper in the backyard.
Okay. And did you do any jobs while you were residing with them?
Yes, I worked for Music City Tree Service.
Okay, with Mr. Strickland.
Yes.
Did Mrs. Strickland have any control over the advertising of the company?
No.
Well, let me go back. What was your role in the Music City Tree Services?
I helped manage the company.
You help manage the company?
Yes.
Okay. Does that include paying
Yes.
monthly dues and all those things?
Yes, I helped with that.
Did Mrs. Strickland have any control over paying the debts of the LLC?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did she have access to any of the bank accounts?
I don't think while I was there.
Okay. How many bank accounts were there that you know of?
One.
What bank was that?
Regions.
Was it a checking account, a savings account?
It was a business checking account.
Okay. And were you here when the August 6th incident occurred with Mr. Strickland?
What was the incident?
August the 6th, do you recall an incident where Mr. Strickland was involved?
I don't remember my dates that well.
Okay. Are you aware that he was hospitalized in
Oh,
August?
yes. Yes. Now I know what you're talking about.
Okay. Can you tell me what occurred that day?
That day, well, it was at night whenever
Okay.
everything happened. I had a friend over and we were shooting some rats, and him and Lindsay got into an argument on their porch, and they got into a fight. He had been drinking, so he got madder than he typically would have if he hadn't have been drinking. So I guess he just decided that he no longer wanted to deal with it. And when he came up to the shop to get a gun, I had the gun that he wanted, but he just took a different gun and left, saying that he was done with this. But he had recently displayed like the type of behavior that was concerning. I'd already talked to him about it before, but it kind of scared me. So I called the cops to have them look for him. So, I didn't want anything to happen to him. And when they found him and they took him in.
Okay. So it was you who called the police to look for him, correct?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned something about the drinking. Tell me about what you have observed as far as Mr. Strickland's drinking habits.
I personally think that he drinks too much. Like when I was there, right? So I haven't been there in like 4 months.
Hold on just a second, sir. We have an objection being voiced. Mr. Sanders?
She asked him about his observations, and he didn't say, well, my opinion is, which is not his observations.
Mr. McSpadden, Objection is to you giving an opinion, which you are not entitled to give your opinion about the ultimate issue, whether he drinks too much. You can testify about what you have observed personally, what you've seen, but not give it a value as to whether you think that's too much or too little. So if you will rephrase
I
your
will
question, Ms.
rephrase.
Henderson.
Mr. McSpadden, so you said that so you worked in Tennessee about 4 months ago, is that right? Because you said you've been in Arkansas about 4 months or 3 months.
3 to 4 months, yes.
So the 3 or 4 months prior to you moving to Arkansas, how much did Mr. Strickland consume as far as you observe?
Every day.
So he was drinking every day, and what type of drink was he consuming?
Beer or whiskey, depending on what he had.
Okay. And have you observed him drink to an excess where you can tell that he was intoxicated?
Yes.
How can you tell that he's intoxicated? What are your observations of him?
Just his behavior changes.
Okay. And so my question was about 4 months prior to you leaving. Can you give me like a time frame of this daily alcohol consumption? How long did you observe a business?
So he was the owner, right? And I sold the jobs. I went and talked to the customers to get the jobs, and then I would have the crew that we had go do the jobs. So really, he just kind of did paperwork, like computer stuff, in his office at the shop.
Okay. And where would he be drinking at that time?
He would drink at the shop.
Would he have company?
He would have company when I was there or whenever the crew was there. I'm not sure about when I wasn't there though.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about marijuana use. Have you observed Mr. Strickland consume marijuana?
Yes.
Um, have you seen him purchase marijuana?
Yes.
And where would this occur?
The Perfect Plant Dispensary in Nashville.
Okay. Is there any other source of marijuana?
I believe yes.
What do you mean by that? Have you seen him purchase it from an individual? Can you be
Yes.
more specific?
Yes. I've seen it purchased from an individual. I don't know their name.
Okay. Do you know how much he would spend on this?
I do not know how much he would spend
How
on the person. I know when he goes to the dispensary, it averages between $300 and $500
how often?
every couple of weeks.
Okay. What about from that individual?
That was less periodic. I would say once or twice a month, maybe.
Do you know how much he would pay that individual?
I do not.
How much do you say on average when you were managing the business would the business make in a month in gross income? Do you recall?
We typically ranged around 30 to sometimes 50, depending on the month. With the tree business, the income fluctuates a pretty good amount per month, but I would say between 30 and 50,000 a month.
Okay. Well, now we're in the winter time. Will the business have some, the revenue at that point? Just because of the
We would still have revenue. We try to, in the summer, which is our busy time of the year, we will try to try to schedule jobs for the winter, so that way we'll already have work built up. For instance, when I was there and I was selling jobs, I had lined up 3 for this winter already. That would have, if if I was still there, I could talk to the customer to continue, because I didn't have a signed contract. I just, it's kind of a handshake kind of deal. But I mean, that would be maybe $25,000 right there. So, but it just kind of depends on if anybody's willing to wait until the winter. It's slower in the winter, but the work isn't dead. There's still money to be made, just not like the summer.
Now, the 30 to 50,000, did you say that's gross income?
Yes,
Do you know how much overhead and everything else is taken out of it before you get to the net profit?
close to, not the exact number, but close.
What is that number?
Can I use my calculator?
Sure.
I would say it's going to be close to about $15,000 a month.
On overhead?
Yes.
On overhead, okay. Okay, and you testified earlier that Mrs. Strickland did not have any access to the account for advertisement. Is that correct?
Yes.
He's not in charge of that.
Correct.
And paying for the bills of the LLC, she's not in charge of that.
Objection, Your Honor, leading question.
Sustained, I'll leave the witness.
Who was in charge of paying the bills for the LLC?
Patrick would pay the bills.
That's all I have.
Sanders, you get cross-examined.
Mr. McSpadden, is that how you say your name?
Yes, sir.
How long did you work for Music City Tree?
I worked for Music City Tree Service from February of 2023 to, it would be around September. Sometime in September is when I left. So about 6 months, 6.5 months.
And why did you leave?
Because of the personal problems that he was having at home. It is family. Plus, I was living on the property, and I'm married as well. So it was causing strain on my relationship, as well as just everyday life was just kind of stressful, because it was really dramatic. There's a lot of drama with it. It just wasn't the kind of situation that I wanted to be in. And I felt like I was being put in the middle of their problems. And that's not what I'm here for. I would rather do something else with my life than be in the middle of someone else's relationship. I have enough things to worry about on my own.
And would you travel sometimes to Nashville to the Perfect Plant?
I have done that, yes, upon his request.
So you would sometimes go and purchase and then bring to him?
Yes.
What product would you purchase?
Marijuana.
What did it look like?
A green plant.
Was it like a flower bud?
Right. Yes.
And you would buy it at the Perfect Plant there in Nashville
Yes.
and bring it back to Mr. Strickland?
Yes.
Did you partake in the drinking sometimes with Mr. Strickland and the other crew there at the shop?
Yes. Yes.
What about a fight? You recall a fight that happened there on the property?
Which fight?
Well, it was between David, I believe. David and another person?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me about that?
From what I know is David's girlfriend antagonized a fight, and I was there. I witnessed it.
And who was the fight with?
I do not know the boy's name.
Did you video it or anything like that?
No, sir.
One moment, Your Honor. That's all, Your Honor.
Redirect?
Just briefly, Your Honor.
Was there anything else that you purchased for Mr. Strickland other than marijuana?
Were you able to hear that question, Mr. McSpadden?
Yes, I'm just trying to think of what it could possibly be that I've purchased. I don't believe there's anything, no.
You didn't purchase any pills, medication, any?
Definitely not, no.
That's all you have. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
McSpadden.
McSpadden. That will relieve you from any further testimony. You may leave our hearing.
Thank you.
At this point, we are going to adjourn for the day. I can